Hi, I'm Jane Drinkwater and welcome to feedbackTV. And just about everywhere we go in the agricultural sector at the moment, the mood is buoyant. Producers certainly seem positive about the year ahead. This is backed up by a recent ABARE report that showed Australian farmers across the board are receiving the most consistent incomes in more than 30 years. Today we're at new MLA Chairman Rob Anderson's property west of Tamworth. We'll get his perspective on the state of the red meat industry a little later in the program. But before that, a quick look at some of the great stories coming up in this episode of feedbackTV. With major retailer Woolworths behind the MSA push, we see what's behind the launch of the recently refreshed MSA logo.
Well, really the benefit of the MSA program is that it adds significant value right through the whole supply chain, and that extra money in the supply chain gets filtered right back to the producer.
We take a look at the opportunities for Australian grass-fed beef in the United States.
If we have more supply, there's more consumers in the US that want to buy the product, and we just need to get it and get it out into their hands.
And good seasons also mean good times for feral pests and predators. We talk with the Invasive Animals CRC about what's being done to combat this national problem.
We need to make sure that land managers have the best tools available at any time to be able to control feral animals, because essentially the easier it is for land managers to do it, the more they will do it.
The Australian lamb industry is in the process of validating breeding selection decisions based on yield and eating quality. These are two key attributes of modern lamb. James Fremantle joins the supply chain to see how this is being done.
Australia has less sheep this decade than at any time since 1904. But as the flock rebuilds to an estimated 70 million within 5 to 10 years, an MLA project is reassessing the criteria upon which we judge what makes the best meat to grow and eat.
The research that we've shown over the last 3 years has indicated that intramuscular fat is just as important in lamb as it is in beef. And it's important because of the fact that it controls juiciness, flavour and overall likeability in lamb.
Beef producers are familiar with incentivised MSA grading criteria. But in lamb production, yield has long been the main goal of the producer. There are signs, though, that market tastes are changing.
So the incentive for producers to deliver lean meat yield to the market comes from the fact that consumers want to eat lean lamb.
Here at North Viaduct in Western Victoria, Tony Fleetwood's focused on producing consistently high eating quality lamb. It's a market-driven approach, tailored to the needs and desires of an increasingly well-educated consumer.
It's early days, and the reason this is being set up is we're AIing 600 ewes using 8 sire groups. There's 4 negatives, 4 positives, and we're going to follow them through to the meatworks, and they're actually going to dissect the carcasses. And look, I'm fascinated and really interested to see what's going to happen.
Tony supplies directly to Coles. On his 770 hectares, he feedlot finishes 8,000 lambs a year with self-replacing Coopworth-based ewes and Pole Dorset rams.
I love information. I love getting figures back, information and monitoring where I'm going and where I want to go. I mean, I get my carcass weights back, and I'm hoping with this, I can find out yield. I love them to be scanned and get eye muscle. So any information I can get better just helps me produce a better product.
Despite his love of information, though, Tony carries a healthy hint of scepticism typical of many producers.
There's a plethora of indexes and I don't get too carried away. All this work's got to be done. We don't know. I mean, that's why I'm keen to do all this sort of stuff.
For MLA Research Manager Alex Ball, this is an opportunity both to learn and to focus producers on the future.
There are 2 new Australian sheep breeding values available for eating quality. The first one is intramuscular fat, which is a measure of fat in the muscle. The second one is shear force, which is an objective measure of tenderness. So in that sense, it is a balancing act. We need to make sure we've got optimum lean meat yield, at the same time maintaining high intramuscular fat and lower shear force. All of those factors will deliver high quality lamb to the Australian lamb market.
It's here in processing that we see the benefits of all the theory and hard work. This is an ideal carcass with a fat score of 3. You can see over the primal muscles there's just enough coverage to ensure against cold shortening and the toughening that comes with that. Then down over the loin and into the racks,
There's good coverage that gives us that juicy tenderness without it looking too fat on the plate.
JBS Australia is the processor involved in the trials, and Farm Assurance and Livestock Supply Chain Manager Mark Ingalls sees a need for increased consistency of product.
Lean meat yield is very important to processors. However, it's with some disappointment that in years of tight supply, it's probably the first thing that's overlooked.
And with a high Aussie dollar and tough market conditions internationally, we need a consistent, high-quality product to keep us in markets and secure ongoing repeat business.
Last few months we've rolled out GR measurement across all our plants, and then we hope to actually then link it up with livestock data link to be able to get that information flow back to producers. That'll allow farmers to understand when they've reached their optimal weight and their optimal fat score for each type of animal they actually produce.
MLA aims to take this feedback a step or two further as a result of the 3-year trial and further honing of eating quality breeding values.
Producers with the new eating quality breeding values that we're releasing need to ensure that they've got the right balance between weight, fat and muscle that they've traditionally had for the last several years, together with the new intramuscular fat and shear force breeding values.
For now, producers and processors are united in a focus on consistently producing lean meat.
My carcasses are, they just look right, and it makes my client very happy to see my carcasses.
But for specific objective targets around other eating quality guidelines and incentives to use new breeding values, it's a matter of watch this space. Learn more about the role of fat in modern production systems, as well as engineering the sheep of the future from industry experts and fellow producers at LambX, the lamb industry's biennial event in Bendigo on 28th and 29th of June this year.
For Australia Day this year, Lambassador Sam Kekovich went viral, recorded a pop tune and visited a Barbie world, all to promote lamb.